are now watching the amazing Mets PreGame Show with your hosts, Rob and CP.
Let's go Mets! Let's go Mets! Let's go Mets! Let's go Mets!
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the amazing Mets PreGame Show right here on both of our channels, on X and, of course, on Twitch. Mets fans, here we are ready to take 3 out of 4 against the Philadelphia Phillies. The Mets do have some work to do as the Atlanta Braves did win, and looks like Arizona is on the verge of winning. So to stay status quo, they must win today to go into Atlanta up at least 2 games. But the New York Mets had a game yesterday, had a very good victory, 6-3, a game 155. Now we play game 156 with Tyler McGill on the mound and the Phillies' best pitcher, former Met Zach Wheeler. Chris, how are you feeling today?
I'm doing great. Looking to build off of yesterday, right? Electric win, electric post game. The vibes are up. Everybody's happy, but it's time to do it again today. As you mentioned, Diamondbacks win or about to win. Braves do win against the Marlins 5-4. The Marlins really should have took advantage more late in that game. They had bases loaded, no out, I think in the 8th inning, and they failed to score any runs. But anyways, like we always say, it's in the Mets' hands. It's right there for the taking. Focus, do your part, take care of business and what you got to take care of tonight at Citi Field, and let's get it done. I'm really hyped, and I'm dressed in all black. As we said, last time out against the Nationals, we're dressed up. So let's do it. I can't wait. Tyler McGill versus Zach Wheeler. Familiar face in Zach Wheeler. The Mets haven't seen him since 2023. 2 times in that year. We'll talk about it, obviously, in his career numbers against the New York Mets, but it's do or die time, right? This is what we live for as Mets fans, or we should live for. I love it. Let's get it done.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, this is a crucial game. Listen, we don't need the heartache of going into Atlanta on Tuesday up 1 game, right? It's a lot of scenarios that we just don't want to deal with, right? We want to get it done. And again, it's going to take a hell of a outing by McGill, and because the Phillies are a little, they want to party in Citi Field. They want to have that division clinch. Mets don't want to have them party on our field for the division. And look, Zach Wheeler is a Cy Young probably leader right now. I know it's close between, I forgot who the other guy was, but
Chris Sale, definitely got to be Chris Sale.
That's right. I know it was somebody in the NL. He's like, of course I didn't say Sale. Obviously another guy that we have to deal with later this week coming up. Yeah, Zach Wheeler, we know how good he can be. And the Mets, again, didn't face him this year, so they ain't really a lot to go after, even though when you look at the lineup, you see what Mendoza's thinking here, and I think we'll discuss the lineup in a little while. But look, it's not going to be easy today. We need a Tyler McGill performance we've seen in the last couple of outings. He needs to be good. Any more than 2 runs, I think it's going to be a hard victory for the Mets, to be quite honest with you. Even though this lineup has been doing a pretty good job getting the clutch hits over the last 6-7 games, but it's a little worrisome when it comes to a guy like Wheeler, because I think he's going to pitch well today. I don't know how well, but the scary part is, and I think people are, I'm not going to say questioning Tyler McGill, but there's still a little doubt in Tyler McGill because he can be really good. He's got the stuff. He needs 2 pitches to really be working on any given day he pitches to really be effective. If he only has 1 pitch that is working, they can lay off that type of pitch and worry about the other pitches that are not really he's throwing that well, and the lineup can do some damage. Well, let's just hope that does not happen. And again, we'll go over what we need Tyler McGill to do today. Zach Wheeler with this lineup, we'll talk about it. But look, Zach Wheeler is possibly the Cy Young guy. It's going to be a tough go of it to try to take 3 out of 4. And because Arizona's looking like they're going to win and the Braves just won, you got to take advantage. And the ball is still in our court, right? No scoreboard watching is somewhat necessary, is not necessary mostly at all if you take care of business. Because if you take care of business, nobody can gain a game and nobody can get closer to you. So, Chris, it's a W. It's got to be a W today, no matter how it happens.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. I see, got some Braves fans in the chat as well. They're feeling good. They took care of business. Now they're rooting for the Phillies. Absolutely. I have no doubts about that. I know you have a lot of Phillies fans also subscribe to your channel as well. So if we do the post game, obviously we're going to be looking to talk a little bit of smack. But again, they got to take care of business, Rob. You're 100% right. Let's talk about Zach Wheeler first and foremost. Career against the New York Mets. He's got like a 3.64 ERA. He's 5-4 during those games. Again, most recently, the Mets lineup hasn't seen Zach Wheeler this entire season in 2024 in all the previous matchups, but they saw him. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think there's been any games that Zach Wheeler pitched against the Mets this season. Correct me if I'm wrong, but last year they did see him twice. In the last couple of outings, right, against the New York Mets, he's been sort of beatable. I think in the 2 starts last year, 3 earned runs and 7 innings pitched for one of those appearances. And then about 5 earned runs in 5 1/3 innings pitched in the first appearance against the New York Mets. So again, there's a lot of Mets players in this lineup that have seen Zach Wheeler and they've seen him plenty enough. That doesn't take away from the fact that Zach Wheeler's having a tremendous season. He's got a 2.56 ERA. He's like 16-6 again, a front runner, or I guess a co-front runner along with Chris Sale. I do think Chris Sale has the edge in that Cy Young talk right now. And you're talking about a fastball, right, with Zach Wheeler that's going to hit 95, 96. He's got a split finger fastball as well. We know the Mets lineup does struggle a little bit with the splitters. He's got a sweeper that could arguably be his best pitch and his put away pitch for Zach Wheeler. So this Mets lineup is going to have their hands full. You see here, no JD Martinez again. You got Mr. Tyrone Taylor. We could talk about Tyrone Taylor, but I've been talking about him on my channel enough already. You guys know it's go time when Tyrone Taylor's in this lineup. So Tyler McGill, I think Joe said it in the chat. Tyler McGill might have a short leash today in terms of, getting later in the ball game. And if he's kind of up there in pitch count, but not quite where you see the rest of these guys going, Carlos Mendoza still might pull the plug. We saw it the last 2 outings when Tyler McGill's cruising past the 6th inning. It gets to the 7th. He's around 87, 88, 89 pitches. He's definitely available for one more if Carlos Mendoza chooses that route, but Carlos Mendoza has not been choosing that route with Tyler McGill. He's not looking to extend Tyler McGill, and he seems perfectly content with the production he's getting in those 5 to 6 innings from Tyler McGill. So we'll see how that kind of strategy, plays out tonight, and that's something that I'm definitely watching out for.
Yeah, good news is Jose Buteo is going to be definitely available in this game. I think he's going to be the first man out of the bullpen. I don't think Tyler McGill is going to see the lineup a third time. I think as soon as that gets to that point, depending on if he's pitching okay and pretty decent, and of course, obviously the score is going to dictate a lot. But if he can get through the first 2 times through the lineup, say it's the 5th inning, and he'll only throw 5, I think the 6 and 7 is going to go to Buteo. And, Ken's bringing it up, Mayton's going to be available. You're going to have Stanek going to be available. Those guys are going to be a part of probably today. And look, you didn't see Buteo at all, right? So the good news is that he's very well rested, and he's going to go multiple innings today, regardless of how far McGill goes. Even if he goes 6, I think you can see Buteo for the 7th and 8th and not even mess around and then try to lead it to Diaz. I think that's the goal. If Mendoza, had to, write it down, and, if him writing it down is the way it goes tonight, I think that's the plan. And yeah, I know Ken's talking about Reed Garrett. Could we stop about Reed Garrett? Like, the poor guy always comes in with runners in scoring position. I've been talking about that for like all year. The guy always comes in with runners on. He's always got to clean up somebody else's mistake. And I'm sorry, he ain't gonna be perfect every single time. He ain't gonna excite you. And Reed Garrett has been a hell of a lot better than people are giving him than people are giving him credit for, because he's been very good. And again, look at the situations he's put in. He's always put it in crucial situations with cleaning up messes of other relievers or starters that have left men on base for him. And again, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're the best reliever in baseball. If you're going to continue to come in, not even the best relievers in baseball come in as often as Reed Garrett comes in with runners on base. You're going to strand some runners. You're going to give up some runs. It's kind of just the way the ball rolls, and as a reliever. But when you're always put in those situations, guess what? You're going to give up some runs. But he's been good more often than not, and he's been pretty damn good. Now, I don't expect Mendy to go to Garrett today unless it, McGill has a rough outing early on, and you're 100% right, Chris. McGill has a short leash. I don't care how good he's pitched. It doesn't matter. I don't care what he done last start because it means nothing for this start. There is no way. If he looks shaky in the first couple of innings, he's out of this game. He did it to Peterson, who's had a great season. He thought the team needed a little bit of a boost, and taking Peterson out, who didn't really look sharp in that game against Philly, he tried his hand. He took out Peterson. It seems like the game was spiraling out of control. Mendoza tried to do anything he could as the manager, and he's like, all right, look, Peterson doesn't have it today. Let's see if we can, hold the score to what it was with the Phillies, and then see if the offense can come back. It didn't work out, but I understand what Mendoza's thought process was there. Just because it didn't work out doesn't mean that it wasn't a smart decision or a good decision. I think the same thing tonight, Chris, and you're 100% right. McGill's got a short leash, and I don't think he's going to go to see this lineup through the third time. And this is where Jose Buteo is going to be very critical in this game.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you on all fronts. Sorry, I'm kind of looking down at my phone because as the chat's saying here, we got the Brewers actually tied up the Diamondbacks and they're kind of threatening here in the bottom of the eighth. So I'm kind of looking at that. No, I agree with you 100%. The Reed Garrett situation, you all know how I feel about Reed Garrett. Obviously, he's been kind of like thrust into a lot of situations where he hasn't succeeded in terms of being that mop-up guy, in terms of inheriting runners on base, right? I think Gary, Keith, and Ron were kind of very adamant about, his lack of success with stranding runners this season. But again, it's a very tough situation. And I see Rob's pumping his fist because the Brewers do take the lead over the Diamondbacks 10-9 in the bottom of the eighth inning. They are 3 outs away from beating the Diamondbacks. Okay. So you get it all here on this pregame show with us. We're scoreboard watching. We're kind of celebrating with you on the chat. Again, I think that this should go, without saying, but we're going to do our shameless plugs anyways. If you all are here, please hit the thumbs up on both streams. We forgot to mention that. If you're in Rob's chat, come over to my channel, CP New York Sports, subscribe, hit the thumbs up. And if you're in my chat, if you somehow, some way don't subscribe to Rob, I know every single one of you probably does already, make sure you go ahead and do so. So great news there. Again, this just reinforces the idea here that we need to take care of business. And this is right for the New York Mets. It's in the grasp of their palms. It's there for the taking. We don't have to settle for the third wild card. We can get up and bump up to that second wild card, right? So again, take care of business. It's going to be a tough test. Nobody said it's going to be easy. Just with the opponents in general, it's not going to be easy. But Rob, I'm not sure if you heard. I don't know if this is just hearsay or I don't know if this is actually, factual, but somewhere on the Brewers broadcast, they mentioned about what their strategy might be for the rest of the season. And again, I don't know if this is factual, but this could be crucial when the Mets visit Milwaukee in the series that I'm going to go to in Milwaukee to root on our New York Mets for that weekend. They might be resting their starters past a certain inning, whether it's the 4th or 5th inning. So that could be huge for the New York Mets in terms of just taking advantage of that series. Should they be, obviously, hopefully, we would hope with 7 games left in contention for one of these wildcard spots. So I want to throw that out there because that's also something to consider. But it's tonight, Rob. It's tonight. We have the Phillies. We need to take this series. We said coming into this series 3 of 4, and they put themselves in an opportunity, in a position to do it. Let's do it.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And you're 100% right, Brad Brewers. I brought this up last week. As soon as the Brewers clinched their playoff berth, they're currently firmly in that third best record spot. Like, they're not really going to jump the Phillies or the Dodgers. There's, it could happen, but it's very unlikely. So they're firmly in that third spot. So they're not gaining anything by winning more games and, putting guys out there to risk an injury. So like I said, with that, last series of the season, that can benefit the Mets here. I know the Brewers are playing kind of tough right now against the Diamondbacks, but it's still a week to go in the season. You're not going to rest all those guys with the week in the season. That's a bad manager job. And Murphy, who is the manager of the Brewers, knows what he's doing. So yeah, I wouldn't be shocked. The starters that go for the Brewers, they might have a couple of openers. They might throw a guy 2 or 3 innings, their best starters, and take him out of the ball game. So that's going to benefit the Mets, and the Mets are probably going to pitch, who they need to pitch to win. And again, the Mets might be firmly in a wild card spot, and then Brewers games might not matter for us either. Probably for seeding second and third wild card, possibly the first wild card, right? But they might firmly be in a playoff spot by that series. You know, if you take 2 out of 3 against the Braves, we kind of put them out of their misery, to be quite honest with you, because that is basically what a 4-game lead against them. If I'm not mistaken, I think my math's correct, right? If we take 2 out of 3, if we win today and take 2 out of 3 against the Braves, right? Oh, it's 3 games. Sorry, I'm sorry. Don't worry about the math. Look, I'm not a mathematician here, but you know, I was trying to figure it out, but I'm not even trying it right now. But yeah, you know, look, tonight's the game, right? Tonight is an extremely important game because the Brewers, the Brewers are winning now. They're beating the Diamondbacks, right? We know I talked about it endlessly about the tiebreaker with the Diamondbacks. That's important. We're up a game if they lose today, just because we're tied with the record. And the Braves are important, but again, the Diamondbacks are very much in this mix as well for both teams, us and the Braves. So, you know, the important thing of why winning today, obviously, is to beat the Phillies 3 out of 4 and don't let them celebrate on your field. But you go to Atlanta up 2 games, and you're up officially a game on the Diamondbacks with 6 to play. You're in prime position for a playoff spot very, very quickly if you take care of business in Atlanta, and that's what they got to do. But it all starts tonight with this pitching matchup with McGill and Wheeler and this lineup that I really want to get into. If you don't have anything else to say, we can talk about the lineup. But
I was just gonna bring up the unfortunate Kodai Senga news. Obviously, I dropped it short on my channel as well. We saw Anthony DeComo. I know everyone here, you know, Justice, you know, is bringing it up, and Daniel is bringing it up. If you don't know, right, Kodai Senga pitched a scoreless inning of rehab ball, right, in AAA Syracuse. I believe it was yesterday. 15 pitches, 2 strikeouts, couple of walks, but he looked relatively clean in terms of, you know, the inning that he produced. But now it's coming out that he felt some triceps soreness, and therefore he's going to be done for the rest of the regular season, which is 7 games. But there's a but and there's a catch with this. He is going to still continue to throw. So that does mean that does not take him out of the equation to somehow reappear in this season, right? Because if the Mets make the playoffs and he's still throwing and he feels good otherwise, maybe, you know, he cracks the postseason roster and they bring him on. But as of right now, we're not going to see him in the Braves series, right? Some were speculating we might see him as early as one of the Braves games. It's not happening. And we're also not going to see him in Milwaukee. Unfortunate news in an already injury-riddled season for Kodai Senga. It just seems like he can't catch a break. And at this point, right, with where the Mets are at right now, the starting pitching rotation, we mentioned it yesterday, they've held it down, especially without Kodai Senga, thanks to Sean Manaea, obviously. Everybody, I'm not going to go up and down the list. Everybody's held it down, including tonight's starter, Talon McGill. But it's just unfortunate to see. So he has to be 100%. Like, he cannot be 80, 90% and reappear for the New York Mets. I don't think the Mets would do that in the first place. I don't think he would do that, knowing how, you know, the injury history with him. But you just can't do that to a player that's expected to make meaningful contributions, at least in the year 2025, at this point of the season. So it sucks. We'll monitor if he comes back for the postseason, should the Mets make it. But again, not the news that you wanted to hear going into Sunday Night Baseball today.
Yeah, it's unfortunate news. You know, maybe he'll be okay for the postseason, and if he is coming out healthy during when he pitches on the side, and maybe he'll become an opener. You know, I don't think it's going to matter until probably if the Mets make it to the playoffs and make it to the NLCS when he plays. You know, when the possibility of 7 games. You know, he might be an opener or might even, you know, something like that in game 5 or 6. You know, of a series or something like that, or game 4 of a series. If you don't want to stretch out your rotation more, depending on how that goes, there's a lot of scenarios with that. But I'm not looking at, you know, it sucks with Kodai Senga, but the Mets have won 86 games without him. So, you know, regardless of the situation, we'll see if he comes back in the postseason, maybe. But I wanted to bring before we get to the lineup, somebody, I think it was Liz in the chat, asked who the Braves face the final series of the year, and that's Kansas City. And I looked at the standings. They are tied for second place and only a half game up on the 3rd wild card. So they can easily be out of this the wild card. So these games for them is just as important. So the Braves' final 6 games of the season are against us and Kansas City, all fighting for a playoff spot. So the Braves don't have no easy test the last 6 games, and the Mets kind of get
Yeah, and also I'm not sure. I think it's the very last series of the season, or maybe it's the second to last. But the Padres and the Diamondbacks also are playing each other, if I'm not mistaken, as
Yes.
well. So that
Yep.
could benefit the Mets as well greatly.
Yeah, correct. And that's why this is coming up roses for the Mets as long as they take care of their own business. Because one, you have Kansas City, that's a really good team that are fighting for their playoff lives. And also the Diamondbacks and, like Chris said, the Padres are playing each other. So, if the Mets do their job and continue to win here, the first wild card is not out of the question. I know it's a couple of games. I think we're right now we're 3, but if we win today, it's 2.5. With 2.5 or 6 to play, and the two teams that you're in front, that you're behind, the Diamondbacks and the Padres play each other. So whoever wins, you're gaining on somebody if you win. So it's kind of a great scenario for the Mets here. The Diamondbacks and the Padres are going to kill each other, and Kansas City is going to be very tough against the Braves the final season of the year. And again, that Brewers series might not matter for us. We might have a playoff berth, just a matter of seeding. And obviously, you would want that number 1 wild card just to get that 3 games at home. It's still unlikely, but again, mathematically, we can still do it. So it's very important to just win today, and you're going to have a really good shot of doing what you need to do and finishing the job of making the playoffs, as my Cowboys embarrass themselves at home again against the Ravens. Sorry, I just looked up and I saw the score, and I'm like, ooh. Sorry
Hey, I'm
about
a
that.
happy camper, Rob, and we
Yeah,
got
I know.
Dallas versus my Giants on Thursday night, so we'll see how
God.
that goes.
Jesus Lord. All right. Thank God we got the Mets, right? We don't say that enough during football season, right? All right. So let's talk about this damn lineup. I'm okay with it. Like I'm done killing Mendoza about lineup construction and what he's doing here, right? Look who's not in the lineup, Mr. JD Martinez, right? He's not in the lineup today. Winker's DHing. I know why Winker's DHing. I was thinking about, maybe we can put somebody else in that DH spot, but it's fine. He put in a lefty against Wheeler. Maybe Winker get a little lightning in the bottle at home. Iglesias, Nimmo, Alonso all have been playing extremely well lately. They're top of the lineup. Love that. Marte is a hitting machine. I think Mendoza did a great job putting Marte in today. I was a little skeptical he was going to put him in because of the tough righty in Wheeler, but Marte is just a hitter. He's been hitting very well. Put him in the lineup. I like he's behind Winker. Alvarez has been coming along. What is it? 4 home runs in 7 games or 6 games or something like that. He's been killing it as of late. Vientos dropped down the 7th. I understand. That's a great job by Mendoza. He's struggling a little bit, throwing him down at the lineup. Taylor, Mr. Clutch. He's going to, and look at Taylor and Acuna. Who has a better 8 and 9 in baseball? Seriously. Like, I want those guys up in big spots. Like, this lineup is just, again, we talk about it all the time, is deep. And again, no matter what you do, how you manipulate the lineup, this lineup is deep. This lineup is dangerous. Wheeler's going to have a tough time with this lineup, regardless of how good we all think he is and know he is. This is not an easy lineup to, get through. And this is why Tyler McGill, if anything, please, the first inning, get a 1-2-3 inning, put up a 0 in the first inning so this lineup can come out with the very energetic Mets fans at Citi Field. A lot of people send me videos that are at the game. While they were waiting online, there was "Let's Go Mets" chants going online outside of Citi Field. So everybody's pumped for the final home game of the regular season. Hopefully there's more, but we'll talk about that at a later date if there's any, if the Mets make the playoffs. But I'm okay with this lineup, Chris.
I like this lineup a lot. And I, for one, am not shocked that Starling Marte's in this lineup because he's 7 of 20 off of Zach Wheeler in his career. The top 3 guys have had profound success against Zach Wheeler in their careers: Jose Iglesias, Nimmo, and Pete Alonso. And then Marte also at that 7 for 20, right? That's like over 350 in terms of the batting average, right? If I'm doing my math correctly, in his career off of Zach Wheeler. So again, the production is there. This lineup, it doesn't really matter that Jesse Winker is hitting, 4 DHing. I don't really care at this point. I don't mind Mark Vientos moving down after taking 4 or 5 strikeouts. It doesn't really matter at this point, the configuration. This lineup, with what we've seen, especially over the past 5 days or so at the very minimum, and really this entire season, right? But definitely over the past 5 days with that back-to-back-to-back 10 plus runs scored performance, right? First time in franchise history, 6 runs yesterday. This lineup is capable of putting up runs in a major way. And Tyrone Taylor and Luis Angel Acuna, I mean, really, at this point, with the way that Luis Angel Acuna is performing, we mentioned needing to replace MVP caliber production with Francisco Lindor out. And he's done just that with the extra base hits, the defense, etc. I would also urge anybody to show me a better 8 or 9 in a starting lineup than these two guys. Tyrone Taylor's on base percentage is ridiculous in the month of September. It's approaching damn near 500, which is absolutely crazy. And his defense, I mean, his defense is just really unspoken for, to be honest, or because I really do think that a lot of people really underestimate and really underappreciate his ability to play all 3 outfield positions. Now we see here he's playing center field and Marte's playing right field. It doesn't really matter, or whether Bader's playing center field and Taylor's playing right field and Marte's DHing at this point, because of the profound success that Marte's had, the consistency with the bat as he stayed on the field, or I guess when he stayed on the field this season. But yeah, no, this lineup, I'm not going to kill Mendoza at all. You can't. You really can't. The personnel, as we said, this lineup is deep. And also a great thing that, kind of almost snuck past me in terms of the headlines. I believe Carlos Mendoza said, if need be, Francisco Lindor might be available to pinch hit late in the ball game tonight. Might be. I believe I saw that somewhere.
I wouldn't be shocked. Francisco Lindor is pushing for it. I can tell you right now, Mendoza is probably not pushing for it because I think they want him healthy for the Braves series. But look, he's been taking a tremendous amount of batting practice, and if that back is feeling good, I'm trusting my player. If there's a big spot here, and in particular, I think it might be right-handed situation where you will want Lindor to face a tough lefty out of the bullpen. You might want him right-handed, but as good as he's been either side of the plate, if you got a big spot, who else would you want in it? If Lindor feels good and he's taking back, he's going to take batting practice, inside. If there's a big spot coming up in the lineup and there's an opportunity for Lindor to come up, he's going to take some BP, in the cage and see if he feels good. If he is, he's going to be in that spot, regardless of who's up. To be quite honest with you, unless it's probably Iglesias, I'd love Acuna to get that spot, but let's be honest. If Acuna comes up in that spot, you don't think Lindor is going to get pinch hit for, be the pinch hitter? Probably will, right? Or maybe not, considering the fact that you might have to put him on the field. But I think there's a lot of scenarios where Lindor, if he's okay, to come up in a big spot. I think Lindor is probably pushing for that, and Mendoza might have to do it when you look at the bench and all right, who am I going to choose, Lindor or Bader? If there's a lefty on the mound, I think you would go with Lindor. So if that's an option, good for us. That means Lindor is probably almost good enough to be ready to go. But I think they're going to be very weary of that. Let's hope we don't have to get to that scenario today, and the Mets are just cruising in this game, which we all hope that happens, right? There's still question about Tyler McGill. He's been really good, but we don't really know. We're hoping this scenario doesn't come up, because I'd love to give Lindor the next 2 days off and be prime and ready to go for that Atlanta series. So if he's ready to go, I'm happy. I'll be great as long as he's 100% healthy.
Brewers win. The Diamondbacks lose.
Yes, baby.
Officially.
Yes.
There we
Come
go.
On, we got to win today. Today.
Yeah, we got to win. You got to win. And honestly, I don't really have the numbers pulled up in front of me. Let me just look this up right now in terms of Tyler McGill's career numbers versus the Phillies. But I feel like he's fared pretty decently in his career versus them, no? He's 3-1 with a 2.54 ERA and 28 strikeouts in 5 appearances against the Phillies in his career. So he's had some success against this lineup. Again, on both sides of the coin here for the Mets and the Phillies, both of these lineups have seen the opposing pitcher quite a bit. JT Realmuto is one guy in that lineup that has had pretty good success against Tyler McGill. He's been kind of a thorn in Tyler McGill's side. So again, I'm kind of curious to see how Tyler McGill attacks this lineup. He's been utilizing, obviously, his mix of pitches very well. It seems like the strategy for a lot of these Mets pitchers are pound the fastball up or up and in and try to get it underneath these Phillies bats. So we'll see if that works out. Obviously, Tyler McGill is going to need to be on point. This is a pesky lineup, and I'm kind of watching how that pitch count moves from inning to inning with Tyler McGill, because again, although it's been relatively good, right, in terms of the pitch count and not prolonging at bats over the last couple of starts, we know Tyler McGill's problem, leading up to this point in his career has been the put away pitch. And when he's up 0-2, 1-2, getting the strikeout instead of going back to 3-2 and issuing a killer walk. So we'll see what happens with that. But I have confidence in Tyler McGill. I'm going to say that cautiously. But again, as I mentioned before, if the last two outings repeat itself in the history of it, Carlos Mendoza is going to pull the plug early, and he's going to entrust it in his bullpen, because all the guys that you mentioned should be available, right? You talk about Maton will be available. Stanek is probably available. Buto is definitely going to be available. A couple other guys to name. Anybody outside of Adam Ottavino is going to be available in the close ball game probably. So again, you hope he can go out there and give you at least 5 competent, solid innings, but you got to go ahead and give him that run production. You absolutely have to do it. And I really love the way the Mets, fought back yesterday after, the way that the game started. With a Schwarber home run, and the long ball has been finding the New York Mets as well. I mean, you talk about Luis Angel Acuna, you talk about Francisco Alvarez, two 22-year-old guys on this team that are contributing in a major way for the New York Mets. And it's just absolutely awesome to see the youthful production that is surrounding these guys that are going to be in this organization playing for the New York Mets in a large capacity for future years to come. So again, limit the walks. You got to hit your spots against this Phillies lineup. Hopefully you don't make any mistakes, in the zone in their wheelhouse. Obviously, Luis Severino made a couple to Bryce Harper. Obviously, JT Realmuto has taken advantage in the last week of some mistakes that are in the zone that really shouldn't have been in the zone, obviously for the walk-off win in particular. But limit the mistakes, and hopefully this rotation, the best rotation in all of baseball, pretty much in the month of September, is able to hold it down. And that starts with Tyler McGill tonight. And again, control your own destiny. The Mets certainly do. Go into Atlanta, take advantage of the off day tomorrow, first and foremost, right? And then go into Atlanta, maintain that 2-game lead over them, and handle business. That's it. It's right in front of us, Mets fans. It's right in front of us. We can smell it. We can almost taste it, Rob. Oh, I love competitive, meaningful baseball in September. This gets me hyped. This gets me going.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a little update. Anthony DiComo just tweeted, or whatever you want to call it nowadays, right? The Mets are moving Luis Severino up in the rotation. He is told that he'll start Tuesday in Atlanta, which allows him to come back for game 162 if that one means something. So this means that either Quintana is not starting again or he's getting pushed back. So that is very interesting to think of, because look, thank God we have an off day on Monday, because this sets it up pretty well, as you're going to have who you need to get in this Atlanta series. So Severino's pitching in game 1 in Atlanta. So we all know it's going to be a big game. And, 162, listen, I hope game 162 does not matter for us. I hope it's just a game where, because you don't want Luis Severino pitching game 162, because then that means he won't be available until game 3 of the wild card series. And that's an if necessary game, obviously, if it gets to that in the wild card series. So hopefully the Mets do their job and 162 doesn't matter, and you don't have to pitch Severino. He'll be available for game 2 of the series with a couple of, with a few days more of rest, and you'll have your main guys going in the wild card series for at least the 2 games going forward. So good news is that Severino's pitching Tuesday against Atlanta for game 1, and Tyler McGill, as we're talking about, the rotation with Tyler McGill today, listen, he needs to do well. Listen, this is the biggest game of his life right now at this moment. This is a situation where Tyler McGill is kind of 50-50 on this postseason roster at this moment, as you're going to probably try to set up your postseason roster based on the team you face. McGill either might be in the bullpen or not on this roster at all. So he might be trying to pitch for a roster spot in the playoffs. So This is his, game to show, hey, listen, I'm here, I'm good. I can do the job in a big moment. And listen, you're going to have 44,000 people there today behind your back. Do your job. This should not be a question mark to win today. Your final home game of the year. The Mets have been great in final home games in their history. I know that don't mean much, in today's age, and people don't care much about that. But the Mets have been really good on the last home game of the season. They need to do the job here, and by any means necessary, it's all hands on deck for the last 7 games of the season. I don't care what you're not feeling great. Go out there. We need you like that. That's the way it's going to be these last 7 games. And look, Tyler McGill, please, come on, please continue how you've been pitching. Continue how you've been pitching. Look, there's always cautious optimism when Tyler McGill gets on the mound. Right? We can talk about his last couple of starts that have been pretty good. It means nothing today if you don't do it today, because that all means for nothing. The fact is, the Diamondbacks lost, the Braves won. You can gain a game on the D-backs, and you can stay pat with the Braves going into Atlanta. That's all we got to think about here, right? There's no scoreboard watching. You're going to be the last game of the night. You are the focus. Mets are nationally televised. The Mets are nationally all eyes on you. Once again, right? People want to see the Mets, right? We got this magic that everybody seems to talk about nationally, and the Met fans feel it as well, even when they're down, right? Schwarber hits a home run, 1-0, and all I hear is crazy, let's go Mets chants. Met fans, they never feel out of the game, and I don't believe this team does either. And I think the energy of this fan base and energy of this team is not going to allow this game to get away from them. I think they're going to win this ball game. No prediction, because we don't do that no more, since it was very, very bad for us to do that. So we stopped that, and it's been working the last 100 games, right? We're just gonna say that we helped
somewhere around there. Yeah, somewhere around there. No score prediction.
So Tyler McGill, Chris, just got to do the job. It's very simple. This is not, this isn't complicated anymore. You win and you do the job. 3 out of 4 is what we wanted coming into this series, nothing less. Splitting is a huge, huge disappointment, because now it's only 1 game up on the Atlanta Braves going into that series. And we all know seems very eerily similar to 2022. Even though it's wild card berths, it's still playoff possibilities. And oh boy, I don't need that heartache right now. I really don't.
I'm going to back up what Lulu said in the chat as well. First of all, Padres losing to the White Sox. We'll see if that holds up. We know how bad the White Sox are. But yeah, I'm not excited that this game's on ESPN. I don't like to listen to those guys, especially when the Mets are on. I just don't, especially when they're playing a Braves team or a Phillies team, right? Any other NL East team, it seems like the focal point is always surrounding that team over the New York Mets, and I just don't like it. But you know what? We're gonna have to sort of saddle up and deal with it tonight, and hopefully they come on and bring a W for us, because again, we don't have to say it anymore. We can say it a thousand times, but you all should know this. I mean, control your own destiny. Go out there and get the job done. One thing that I will say, though, in terms of like as we move closer and closer to potentially clinching a playoff berth, as it relates to Tyler McGill, because you mentioned the point of him trying to showcase himself on why he should deserve to make the playoff roster. I would tell you this: I'm fairly confident, right, that unless the Mets somehow value his veteran presence, I'm fairly confident that Adam Ottavino is not going to make his postseason roster. And I would almost prefer Tyler McGill to just go into the bullpen and take whatever that Adam Ottavino would have had. Let's say Kodai Senga is not on the verge of coming back, so that's not an option, right? Worst case scenario, obviously. You got to replace Adam Ottavino somehow. You could probably shorten your rotation for the time being, heading into the postseason, a wild card round, and you have to move somebody to the bullpen. But there's no. I'm just gonna say this right now. You could be the biggest Adam Ottavino fan. I respect, his game and what he's contributed to the New York Mets ever since joining. I respect it. I get it. But right now, there is zero situation, not even like a 3 or 4 run ball game where you just have to hold it down. Do I trust Adam Ottavino to go out there and produce for this team? There's simply no way that he's able and he should be making this playoff roster should the Mets get there. So again, just sort of want to throw that out there. Obviously, we're locked into tonight. We need to get there first, but just some food for thought in that category. But again, let's go win, right? Let's come on to the post game because we got you all covered post game content. Tune into the post game. We'll be live, spamming those W's, hopefully, like we usually do. In our post games, spam those thumbs up. The turnouts have been really good for our post games and the pre-games. We definitely appreciate it. Keep rocking with us, and we got you covered for all things New York Mets during the season, during the playoffs, hopefully during the off season, all year round. We're talking Mets baseball. Appreciate you all. See you on the live stream tonight.
Absolutely. And I want to bring up something in the comment. John Florentine talked about the San Diego Padres. We can't catch them without the extra game. That is wrong. We have the tiebreaker against them too. So all we have to do is tie the Padres. If that comes to fruition and that ends up being the possibility, the number one wild card, all we got to do is tie, and we have that number one wild card spot against San Diego. So the Mets have the tiebreakers against the Diamondbacks and the Padres, and we'll see what happens with the Braves. If the Mets win that series, they got the tiebreaker on all three teams that are fighting for a wild card spot, including us. So listen, guys, post game, after the game, whatever time that game ends, we're going to be there with the passion, win or lose. Guys, there is no other post game you want to come to. All right, come here. We got the passion, we got the fire, we got the facts from us both, win or lose. We are going to be 100% factual here. We are not going to play any games with you. We are here. So if you're a new subscriber or new to the channel and thinking about subscribe, there's no other place to go to. We know the great Mets content creators all here, but the post-game show you want to be at is right here, guys. Trust me when I tell you, on both of our channels, Chris's channel, my channel, we're on X every single show. And I just started posting on Twitch a lot, live streams. So if you're over there, head over to YouTube, especially on X. Come over to our channels, guys, and hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell. I can't emphasize that enough. Not enough people put notifications on, and you kind of find out last minute that the stream is on, and you might be doing something. Maybe you could plan for the stream as well. But you know what? It's a late Sunday night, guys. Whenever this game ends, hopefully we're talking about a Mets victory and spanning those W's, as Chris likes to say, all over the chat, all over the stream. With that said, guys, thank you for watching the Amazing Mets pregame show. We got about an hour, 15 minutes or so until game time. McGill, Wheeler, 86 wins for the Mets. Second wild card as of right now, if they win. And if they win, there's still 2 games up on the Braves going to Atlanta. With that said, have a great night, guys. We'll see you on the post game. Enjoy the game. Let's go, Mets. We'll see you later tonight, guys.
Let's go, Mets.
We're gonna make it this time. We're gonna take